Good morning, students. In our previous English period, we completed My Shadow from Unit 3. So now, in this period, I'm continuing with Robinson Crusoe from Unit 3. So let's start. Robinson Crusoe discovers a footprint. So Robinson Crusoe's ship had been destroyed by the sea. He had been alone for many years and longed for company. So his ship destroyed by the sea, and he had been alone for many years. One day he discovers a footprint, discovers that unexpectedly finds something, or he finds a footprint on the sand. Let's find out what he did then, and then after what he did. One day when I was going towards my boat, I was surprised to see the footprint of a man on the sand. I stood amazed. I listened. I looked around me. I could neither hear nor see anything. I went up higher to look down. I went up the shore and down the shore, but it was no good. I could find no other footprint but that one. I went to it again to see if there were any more footprints and to tell if it had been my imagination. But I was not mistaken, for there was exactly the print of foot, toes, heel, every part of a foot. I could not imagine how it came there. So one day Robinson Crusoe was going towards his boat, and he was surprised to see the footprint. Footprint, it means the impression left by a foot on the ground or a surface. So he found footprint of a man on the sand, and he was stood amazed. He listened, and he looked around him. I could neither near nor see anything. He couldn't find anything, nor couldn't listen anything. He went up higher to look down. Then he went up to the shore and down the shore, but it was no good. He could find no other footprint but that one. He went to it again to see that if there were any more footprints, and tell if it had been my imagination. And then he think that maybe it's my imagination, but I was not mistaken. But he was not mistaken, for there was exactly the footprint of a foot, but it was not imagination. It's in reality, it was exactly the print of a foot, toes, heel, every part of a foot. He could not imagine how it came there. So he continued to think about it, how it came there. I stayed a long time thinking, but became more and more confused. At last, I returned home very frightened, looking behind me after every 2 or 3 steps, mistaking every bush and tree to be a man. So, as I think more and more, he will be confused more and more. And then at last he returned home very frightened with fear, full of fears, looking behind me after every 2 or 3 steps. And when he returned home, he checked behind himself as he take every 2 or 3 steps, mistaking every bush and tree to be a man, and he feels or imagine every bush and tree as a to be a man. When I came to my cave, which I called my castle, I ran inside it as if I was being chased. I do not remember whether I used the ladder or went in by the hole in the rock, which I called the door. I ran for cover faster than any animal could run. So, when he came to his cave which is he called his castle, that his home, I ran inside it. He ran inside it. I was being chased. I do not remember whether I used the ladder or went in by the hole in the hole in the rock, that is which I call the door of the cave or the castle. So he was too much frightened that he feel that continue someone is chased him, follow him, and he exactly don't remember whether use the ladder or went in by the hole in the rock, which I call the door. I ran for cover faster than any animal could run, and he ran in the way of an animal run in that much speed. He covered to passed out from that area. Then I did not sleep that night. The more I thought about what I had seen, the more afraid I became. I thought it could be one of the savages of the mainland who had wandered out to the sea in a small boat. So that night he did not sleep. He continuous think about that footprint, that whose footprint, or what he had seen, the more afraid that fear I became. I thought it could be one of the savages. Maybe he thought that it could be the footprint of the savages. Savages means a brutal or a vicious person of the mainland. Mainland, that is the large continuous extent of land, who had wandered. Wandered, that means go to place to place without a definite route, out of the sea in a small boat. So maybe that footprint was of the savages who wandered from place to place without a definite route in a small boat. Luckily, I was not on a shore at that time. But what if he had seen my boat? If he had seen the boat, he would have realized that someone lived on the island and would soon return with others to kill and eat me. So then Robin Crusoe thinking that luckily that it was my luck that I was not on a shore at that time when they were there. But what if he had seen my boat? But what if he had seen my boat? And if he had seen the boat, he would have realized that someone lived on the island. So if he had seen my boat, then maybe he comes to know that someone is lived on the island and would soon return with others to kill and eat me. And maybe they returned with others to kill and eat me. And so I lay fearful for many days and prayed for protection. In doing so, I was much comforted and began going out to investigate. But even now, as I went forward, I looked behind me frequently because I was still very frightened. So now Robinson Crusoe lay fearful for many days and prayed for his protection. And in doing so, he was much comforted and began going out to investigate to find out that whose footprint was that, or about that thing, investigate. But even now, as he went forward, he looked behind him frequently because he was still very frightened. So as he went forward, then he continued to feel that someone is there behind him to follow him because he was still very frightened. However, as I went about for 2 or 3 days and saw nothing, I became a little bolder. I decided to go down to the shore again and examine the footprint once more. I decided to measure it with my own footmark. So as he went about for 2 or 3 days and he saw nothing, so he became a little bolder. Bolder, that means more confident. So now he became little bit confident. I decided to go down to the shore, and then he decided to go down to the shore and examine the footprint, that observe the footprint once more. I decided to measure it with my own footmark, and then he decided that he can measure that footprint with his own footmark. As I came closer to the footprint, I realized that it could not be my footprint because I had not come to this part of the beach since a long time. Secondly, as I placed my foot alongside that footprint, it seemed larger than my own. My fear returned. I went home again, believing that there was someone there. The island was inhabited. So as he became a little bolder, means with some confidence, he decided to go down to the shore, and again he examined the footprint one time more. He wants to observe that footprint and decided to measure it with his own footmark. As he came closer to the footprint, then he realized, or he find that it could not be his footprint, because he had not come to this part of the beach for a long time. He not come there for a long time for that side. And secondly, as I placed my footprint, so secondly, if he placed his footprint alongside that footprint when he measured, so it seemed larger than my own. So it seemed larger than his own footprint. So again, with the fear, he returned. He went his home. Now again he quite frightened, and he believing that there was someone there. So after this observation, then again his fear, and he returned his home, and he believing there is someone. The island was inhabited. Inhabited means live in or occupy place by the person or the animal. So he feel that someone is there. The island was inhabited. It is adapted from Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe. So I hope that you all now clear with this chapter. So just read out this chapter once again. So in this period, up to this much, I stop here. Further will be continue in the next video. Till then, take care of yourself. Stay at your home. Stay safe. Do little bit study. Revise whatever we completed. Thank you. Goodbye.